So this is interesting. One of the greatest power anthems in rock and roll history was actually sort of written by this legendary band's fans. One of music's greatest singer-guitarist duos. They wrote a song that they felt would unite the masses, and it actually began as a live improvisation. And even though it has one of the biggest driving beats ever, it doesn't actually contain drums. Once you hear this song's story, you're never going to hear the song the same way again. Finally, when this band was recording this song, one of the most infamous bands in history kept interrupting them and actually made fun of their singer, but this frontman would have the last laugh, creating a song that would blow everyone away, including anything this other band put out. The story is coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey Music Junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you love music, make sure that you subscribe below right now to get the history behind the songs, the albums, the bands, the artists that are the soundtrack of your life. Also, if you'd like to support our mission of interviews and this history, just click on our links below for our latest merch and our Patreon for even more content. It helps make this all possible. Queen was on their A Day at the Races tour. In 1977, the tour was going extremely well as the band continued to elevate their stature to one of the biggest rock bands in the world, with a magnetic and powerful frontman who lit up the stage, one Freddie Mercury. Fans that went to see Queen perform on that tour were lively and passionate about the concerts. It was a huge sold-out tour. But there was one particular show that stood out from all the rest at Bingley Hall in Stafford, England, where the audience was so emotionally involved in the performance. The band was completely taken aback. On that magical night inside Bingley Hall, Queen did their encore and then went off stage. The band was used to the fans cheering after an encore, begging the band to return to the stage to give them more, like any encore with any big band. But instead of the usual clamoring, the entire audience began to sing to the band in unison, "You'll Never Walk Alone," the wondrous show tune from Rodgers and Hammerstein that was used in the 1956 musical Carousel. It was also the theme song for sporting teams in Europe and special events throughout the world. That display of affection for the group from the fans singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," it absolutely stunned the four band members. I can only imagine how they felt if you've ever heard that song. It's so amazing. From that enthralling experience, lead guitarist and co-founder Brian May, frontman Freddie Mercury, knew that it was time to create a song that the fans could really participate in. A song that would unite the audience and the band as one. Overcome by what had happened in Stafford, Freddie and Brian began to follow the inspiration from the crowd, and they each came up with a song, independent from one another, that would become transcendent sing-along anthems. It wasn't a competition necessarily. It was just something that two iconic musicians felt compelled to do. They felt it would motivate them to reach their end goal. Freddie came up with "We Are the Champions." 'Cause we are the champions. And Brian May invented "We Will Rock You." Sing it. We will rock you. This feature is about Brian May's chanting standard, "We Will Rock You." It's one of the greatest stadium hits ever and one of the surefire finalists for the perfect sports anthem. We will rock you. As many of you have seen the Queen biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, you'll know "We Will Rock You" began with a stomping beat.
Be part of the band, so what can they do?
But it actually came to Brian May during a dream sequence. His aim was to compose a rock anthem on top of that profound beat that was pulsating inside of his head. Brian didn't realize that the song that he was constructing would have the unifying power to emerge as an international pop culture phenomenon.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a
He composed the song's lyrics by singing them into a handheld tape recorder. And this is very interesting. For the storyline, Brian imagined an evolution of a man through 3 stages of life. There's childhood, young adulthood, and the senior years. The lyrics about childhood are found in the first verse, about a kid wondering if he's going to make his mark in the world. So the second verse, that addresses life as a young adult, where one feels the power and the passion to make a difference, and how that passion can translate into anger about something that needs to be changed. And then the last verse deals with old age and acceptance of where your life has taken you. During the golden years, you have to pick and choose your fights to, maximize your effort and your energy. In essence, Brian May believed that a life's journey takes you through periods of hope, frustration, and eventually resolve. Brian succinctly describes "We Will Rock You" as a cry full of surety and confidence that will ultimately motivate a person to rock everything they come in contact with. Brian's motivational words are expressions we aspire to use every day, really in any situation. We will rock you. Now, typically in a Brian May composed song, there is an element of irony in the subject matter, such as the case with "We Will Rock You." The chant of "We Will Rock You," is fortifying, but in the end, one realizes how little power we actually have in the world order. According to the Zen philosophy of Brian May 101, once you can accept that you are powerless, you're motivated to find a higher power. Just wonderful wisdom by Master May. Now, as we go into the breakdown of this classic song, I do want to thank our sponsor, recognize our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. I love Zenni because I've worn about 12 pairs of their glasses for the last year. I've actually gone on their website myself, designed each pair to my style, to my liking, and I've worn them nonstop for a year. I'm a lifer at this point. Really enjoyed them. You can do the same. You go to Zenni.com and you'll see. A big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place. "We Will Rock You" is set in an a cappella format using only human stomping and clapping as a rhythmic percussion beat. As many of you already know, there are no actual drums on the recorded track. That famous cadence that makes us bob our heads and pound on any surface within striking distance, that was concocted from the sound of 4 members of Queen, their roadies, their engineers, and even their tea lady. Betty, I believe is her name, stamping their feet simultaneously in a recording room inside London's Wessex studio. In an interview with National Public Radio, May explained that they were fortunate to be recording the track in an old abandoned church in North London. It already had great acoustics to achieve that tone that they were really searching for. Brian, found some old boards of a drum podium lying around under the stairs, and he thought that stomping on those old boards would manufacture really an ideal effect. Then he wondered what it would sound like if 1,000 people were tromping and stomping at the same time. How could they make that stomping sound even bigger? Brian May surmised that if they overdubbed the stomping track just enough times with no reverb, it would produce a bigger sound to evoke the impression that a multitude of people were stomping and clapping. The production team actually put delays on each of the 15 tracks, but none of the delays were harmonically related. Distancing was also the key to establishing that tromping herd effect, if you will, because if it were actual stomping in the distance, there would be some kind of sound bouncing from the source. Remember that Brian May had a degree in astrophysics, but without getting too technical, the clapping of the song was distanced from the stomping so that the listener feels like that they're in the middle of a large group of people that are clapping and stomping to the same beat. And he actually pulled that off with no echo. Nowadays, of course, there's software that can simulate just about any sound you want. Back in the 70s, it took a great deal of ingenuity and apparently a guitar virtuoso physicist to accomplish that.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big
The clapping on We Will Rock You was about as primitive as it gets, except that they were sitting on a piano when they were doing it. And when anybody's analyzing a song by Queen, you really have to recognize that the track really comes alive because of one of rock's greatest interpreters, if not the greatest, Freddie Mercury. Freddie transformed Brian May's words on We Will Rock You into a diehard movement with a vocal performance exploding from fiery passion and valor. Like a warrior leading his troops in a battle. Everybody remembers the first time that they heard Freddie level planet Earth with his inspired vocal rendition of We Will Rock You.
You big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing we.
I have to say that this was the first song that I heard as a young kid that just throttled my entire being. I remember my dad bought the Queen Greatest Hits album, the one right there. I was about 5 years old when this happened. I had just seen Flash Gordon, and I was more taken with the music than the movie, which kind of strange for a little kid. Well, my dad was playing the record one day when I was playing with these little Muppet figurines that I had. And when We Will Rock You came on, with Freddie fiery anthemic singing, I just forgot about my toys. And I was lost in that alien sound coming from the record player.
We will rock you.
I swear, that day Freddie gave me whiplash. I started to really put it together. This was the guy that sang Flash. I remember just staring with wonder at the record sleeve. The Greatest Hits one, right there where the band's all sitting there. Every song on that album was gold. It had another one, Bites the Dust. It had Bohemian Rhapsody. It had Under Pressure with David Bowie. It was life-affirming, even at that young age. It pretty much tattooed its brilliance upon me. And from that point on, toys and cartoons, they took a backseat to records and to rock and roll. So Freddie knew that Brian had created We Will Rock You to be a rock anthem for the fans. So he added his incomparable showmanship to elicit crowd engagement, shouting out, everybody, and sing it.
Sing it. We will.
Which really made you feel like you were right there witnessing the performance whenever you listened to it, especially on headphones.
Everybody, we will rock you.
Brian May's formidable instrument, his red special guitar, is there, waiting in the wings, slowly creeping in underneath the vocals during the last We Will Rock You chant. But it doesn't take center stage until after Freddie shouts, "All right," as if he is turning over the main spotlight on Brian to perform his heroic, unprocessed solo that finishes the song in just resounding fashion.
All right.
May's guitar tone on his Red Special is the product of many elements, such as his use of a homemade fireplace guitar with really thin strings, treble mid booster, a boss, chorus pedal, of course his unique choice to use an English sixpence coin instead of a traditional guitar pick to play his guitar. After trying more conventional methods for picking, Brian chose the coin because he enjoys feeling the action in his fingers while he's playing. The Red Special is an electric guitar that it was designed and constructed by Brian himself along with his father, Harold May, when Brian was a teenager in the early 60s. The customized guitar was crafted for feedback, and it's a very interactive instrument that can change tones just by moving it in front of an amplifier. During the recording sessions for We Will Rock You and the other 10 tracks for the News of the World LP, Queen had several wild encounters with, get this, the Sex Pistols. They were also using the Wessex Studios to record their groundbreaking album, Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. Now, the perpetually inebriated Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious, he interrupted Queen's recording sessions several times to lambast Freddie Mercury. He sarcastically asked him if he'd brought ballet to the masses yet. That was quoted in an interview with the New Music Express. Freddie responded by greeting him as Simon Ferocious and answering him with, "We're doing our best here," before pushing his drunk butt out of the studio. Man, I love Freddie Mercury. That's awesome. Roger Taylor was often not as diplomatic as their flamboyant frontman, referred to Vicious in the media as a moron whenever he had the opportunity. So there was another incident when Sex Pistols' provocative lead vocalist Johnny Lydon, then known as Johnny Rotten, he crawled along the floor of the studio on all fours to say hello to Freddie, who was playing the piano. Ironically, it was Queen who inadvertently gave the Pistols their game-changing break on television. Queen pulled out of a scheduled appearance on the popular Grundy TV program, so the record label EMI sent the Sex Pistols to fill in for Queen in what turned out to be the shockingly infamous Filth and Fury interview.
Nothing? A rude word? Next question.
No. What was the rude word?
We Will Rock You was issued as the backing track for We Are the Champions. The two songs were designed to, run together after they were recorded, but originally it wasn't the band's intentions to sequence the songs back to back, actually. Their intention was to do something different. Radio stations nearly always play the two songs together, and that translated to the way that the songs are really played during sporting events. In fact, I believe it was the most played song during, 2008 to 2009, the seasons in the NFL, the National Hockey League, and in Major League Baseball. All three should come as no surprise. I mean, it's just one of the biggest out there. Now, since being released as a double-sided 45, the song has had incredible staying power. Since its release in 1977 to the third decade of the 21st century, We Will Rock You has sold at this point more than 4 million copies in the US and nearly 7 million around the world. In 2009, the song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. And although Bohemian Rhapsody is the song, most tied to Queen's legendary performance at Live Aid, We Will Rock You, along with We Are the Champions, to me, it's equally as grand in scope for that particular performance. Now, on the 7th of October, 2017, Queen released a Raw Sessions version of the track to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the release of News of the World. It features a radically different Brian May guitar solo and includes Brian May's count in at the start of the recording.
Right, that's me. Take one.
We will.
British boy band Five released a cover of We Will Rock You. That was in 2000. It was the fourth single released from their second studio album, Invincible. Five's rendition actually features Brian May on guitar and also Roger Taylor on drums. However, they don't sing any vocals on that track.
On your face, you big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place.
Freddie died in 1991, and John Deacon was already 3 years retired from the music business by the release of the Five remake. The song charted at number 1 on the UK singles chart, making it Five's second number 1 single and their 9th consecutive top 10 hit. We Will Rock You. It's also one of the most sampled songs of all time. It's been sampled by Ice Cube, Kesha, Jaquan, Katy Perry. There's Lady Gaga, One Direction, Eminem, and even Beyonce. It's one of the most licensed songs of its time, with uses in A Knight's Tale, The Mighty Ducks, Dodgeball, The Replacements, Any Given Sunday, also the movie FM, just to name a few.
A big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place.
Obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody is the biggest song by Queen, as every generation has been just taken by its multi-layered magic. It's arguably the greatest rock opera ever created, for my money, but We Will Rock You, it might be the best showcase of the raw intensity of each member of Queen, together with a song that really gets right in your grill. It boxes your ears, it galvanizes the senses, just lights up your soul from the very first stomp. It's one of those song titles that does exactly what it says it's going to do. Leave us a comment about this classic rock anthem. What are your memories of Queen? When did you first hear them? I'd love to hear about that. What was the first song by Queen that grabbed you? Let us know in the comments. If you like this content, we invite you to subscribe below, become a part of our community, and also check us out on Patreon for even additional content. Check out our merch like this 1971 Vintage Years collection. All of this helps us keep the music alive. That's the goal. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friend.